welcome to Rare Rising Stars 2020. My name is Naomi Kalman. I'm a Senior Manager at Rare and one of your hosts for this evening. 2020 has been a year of the unprecedented and the unexpected, but Rare Rising Stars has been running since 2009, and so we couldn't let anything stop us celebrating this year's top 10 Black students in the UK. We've all been living through a paradigm shift, however, with us depending on technology to communicate and our conversations being controlled by the mute button. A second paradigm shift came after the murder of George Floyd, which shook the world and sparked frank conversations about racism and racial injustice in offices and boardrooms, sometimes for the first time. To me, it felt as if someone had suddenly hit a metaphorical unmute button. As whilst these conversations have been had by some of us for many years, they haven't always been widely listened to. Many of us hope that this surge of interest in tackling racism and racial injustice in all spheres becomes a permanent and enduring feature of our society. At Rare, we've always been committed to securing fair outcomes for ethnic minority students, often with a particular focus on Black students, where they are the group most underrepresented in the industries that we work with. In response to the increasing desire to do more on this issue, we launched the Race Fairness Commitment, which focuses on helping the legal sector to achieve leadership which is as diverse as its intake. The commitment contains real teeth in the form of very specific data points, which firms signing up are mandated to calculate and strongly encouraged to make public. It also ensures that race and racism are talked about in every induction and every exit interview, and that junior ethnic minority staff have access to the most senior management. We hope that it will make a real difference, and that in 10 years' time, those reaching partnership in the top law firms and getting into senior management in other organisations are as ethnically diverse as those entering those firms today. We also know that it's important to continue celebrating and supporting the talent and success of Black students today. In difficult times, we all need joy and inspiration, and we hope that tonight's Rare Rising Stars Awards will deliver that to your living room. This evening, we'll be counting down our top 10 Rare Rising Stars, and we'll have the pleasure of interviewing the top 3. Before we start our countdown, however, we're going to hear from Bez Adioson, my co-host for the evening and the editor of this year's Rare Rising Stars, who's done a brilliant job of bringing this all together, no matter the obstacles that were in his way this year. Hi, Bez.
Hi, hello.
Hello. Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
How are you doing this evening? Exciting to count down our stars?
Yes, definitely. It's been a long wait for this event and it's been hard work putting it together, but we're happy that we've been able to put it out, albeit virtually and online. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to retell the stories of everyone today.
Brilliant. And when you took on the job of editor for this year's Rare Rising Stars, what direction did you hope to take the publication in?
I think when I first took on the job, I was really hoping to have a variety in terms of the different fields that people were coming from. So I wanted to have sort of tell stories of people doing things in the art sector, in charities, business, and I wanted it to show like a varied mix of to be sort of an accomplished or to have sort of high achievements. You can do whatever you enjoy doing and sort of come from different areas and still be impressive. And I really wanted that to sort of come through with the publication this year. And I was very pleased to get nominations from many people from different universities across the UK, but also in different sectors, sort of studying different subjects. And yeah, as I said, I'm really happy that these are the stories that we get to share today.
Yeah, and I think the publication has definitely got a range of people doing amazing things in all different sectors.
Yeah.
And how were your plans impacted by COVID-19 and how did you adapt?
So thankfully, or relatively, it wasn't too impacted by COVID-19 because a lot of the nomination process happened quite early on. I knew a few stars were affected in terms of the events and things that they were trying to put on were affected by the lockdown. But thankfully, not too much in terms of the organisation at the early stages were affected. There were a few delays to the judging process. Because our judges unfortunately had sort of a lot to do during that period. And I guess little things like the photo shoot couldn't happen, but I mean, the stars being themselves and being resourceful, which is how they became stars, were able to adapt to that. And I was able to get lots of pictures from the stars, which are all taken at home, which were included in the publication. So it was able to go sort of better than sort of worst case scenario. And yeah, so I'm just really happy with the fact that it all came together.
Yeah, and I think the real theme of this year's stars is resilience and perseverance, and I think that's really been captured in putting this together. And what were the key themes that emerged as you were reading through all of the nominations that you received?
Yeah, and again, as you just said, and as it is with every year, the stars are very resilient. Lots of them had to face obstacles, some of them pretty early on in life. I sort of, some age 12, 14, even younger. I have no idea what I personally was doing at that age, but a lot of these stars had to sort of overcome challenges from quite a young age. And I guess that really set them up in terms of really developing and building their character and building a very resilient mindset that allowed them to sort of overcome all the other challenges that they had to face as they sort of progress through life. And I think that's one sort of important characteristic that I could see amongst all the stars this year. Another important thing was there was quite a few of the stars this year doing a lot of work in Africa, and there was a sense of an emerging diaspora of people who are looking to sort of give back and not just primarily focused on sort of helping up people in the UK, but thinking about what they can do for their communities back home and trying to sort of alleviate people out of poverty or bring education or medicine to countries in Africa. So I think that was also really, really inspiring to see. Just the resilience and sort of really, really creative ideas also coming from people who won the award this year.
Brilliant. And it's definitely the case that there's a sense of outward lookingness and the generosity of the stars is really, really amazing. And with all of that said, I think we should get into counting down our stars.
Yes. So we're going to hear from our 10th and 9th stars of this year's award.
Hello, my name is Obsolisi Nawambongo. I'm 25 years old. I'm an artist, activist, and campaigner. What does this award mean to me? I'm still shocked. I'm very surprised. I'm very happy that I was selected. It just came out of the blue. To be approached by Bez on LinkedIn, and then to take all this journey, and then finally being selected and finally actually receiving an award. It's a big deal for me this year, 2020. So I'm very happy about that. I'm looking forward for our campaign this year. We're going to be campaigning in Congo and Ghana. So we have a 2-month campaign on health and HIV. So I'm looking forward to that. And finally, I'm looking forward to finishing my master degree in contemporary art at Sotheby's. So I can't wait to finish that so I can finally take a break.
My name is Tanate Gambora, and I'm a student at the University of Edinburgh. Being listed as one of this year's rare rising stars is an honor. This demonstration of faith in my work has encouraged me to push on and to continue contributing to culture, people, and society. I'm excited to announce that in the next year, I will be publishing my debut pamphlet of poetry entitled Things I Have Forgotten Before. This collection of poems will be a part memoir reflection on race, womanhood, and nation. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Rare Rising Stars for recognizing value in my work and encouraging me to move forward. I look forward to what the rest of the year brings and can't wait to share every part of my journey with you.
We're just getting started, but those two stories are really inspirational. Starting with Orthley's story, what is it that really stood out to you when you first got her nomination?
I think it's really just about her journey and moving here, and I think it was in year 6 or year 7, her art teacher sort of saw something in her work, and she sort of took that on, and was able to get a place in a foundation year at Central St Martin's, which is one of the most competitive art schools in the UK, and sort of kept fighting her battles, and sort of winning Miss Congo as a university student, and all the experiences that came with that. It was just really inspirational to see how she, from a young age, was really focused on giving back and doing a lot of charity and community work.
Yes, and what really touched me about her story was that she discovered at 11 that she was HIV positive from birth, and managed to turn that discovery and experience into a really wide range of activities to support others to better understand and better respond to that, and all of the work that she's been doing to campaign against AIDS and to sort of spread her message and experience across a number of countries is just really impressive.
Yeah, exactly. And she had a month-long campaign last year where she was able to reach schools, orphanages. She went into hospitals and spoke about general HIV awareness and trying to destigmatize the illness. And she's now recently founded her own charity, which she's looking to expand into Congo and in Ghana in the next year. So it's all really exciting, and it's really positive to see.
And there was a theme running through those 2 stars, because Tanatse also sort of came up through art and as an artist, and has also managed to turn that into community-focused work.
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, her story is even more impressive, and sort of starts with what I was saying about people sort of experiencing difficulties from a young age. So, age 14, she was going through the education system at home, and her access to funding was stopped at that age, and she had a year's break from education. And for most people, that usually ends up being sort of quite detrimental to your sort of overall education, sometimes your life outcomes. But she took that as an opportunity to really get involved in community work, which is where her love for arts and theatres really began. And at a young age, being 16, 17, she launched an exhibition with the British Council, and from there was able to sort of win scholarships and sort of move forward and progress in different ways. And yeah, it was really, really inspiring to see how that came along from such a young age.
And the 25 May movement, which she set up, started as just a group of small girls, or a small group of girls, and is now doing nationwide radio broadcasts and has a reach of over 60,000 people online, which is huge for something that started so small. And I think it just shows how the combination of technology and then, as you were saying, having people really do what they love and care about can end up having such a wide impact.
Yeah, exactly. And as a female-led group as well, it's really great to see how they're able to empower people in Kenya, give them access to the arts and sort of show them the opportunities that are available to them in the art sector. And she received a sort of humanitarian award for doing that, which is sort of amazing to see her being recognised for her work. And as she said in her thank you video, she's got even more exciting things coming up with her pamphlet of poetry. So I'm sure it's going to be a really, really exciting future for the both of them.
Definitely. Okay, so should we meet our number 8 and 7 stars?
Yes, of course.
Hi everybody, my name is Leanne Armitage. I recently graduated as a junior doctor. When I think about the Rare Rising Stars Award and what it means to me, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude because the reason I was shortlisted for the award is because of the work that I've been doing through my charity, the Armitage Foundation. This is a charity that I co-founded to help increase diversity across UK medical schools. And when I did this, it wasn't my plan to get awards or anything like that. You know, I set up the charity because I'm passionate about diversity being present in the UK medical workforce. It's very necessary. And so to receive awards as a byproduct of this, because, you know, it's work that you consider to be worthy of an award is something that really encourages me, because it really just motivates me to know that despite the challenges, despite the setbacks, you have to keep going with this banner of increasing diversity, because it's necessary. Thank you.
My name is Ininye Uduporo, and I just want to use this opportunity to say a huge thank you to everyone at Rare Recruitment for this award. This award means the absolute world to me, especially because it hasn't always been an easy and smooth sailing journey to get to this point. I really hope that I will be able to continue to inspire others and uplift them using education. Over the next couple of months, I'll be continuing to grow Enrich Learning with the hope of going nationwide and being able to tutor children across the UK. I just want to say to anyone out there who is listening to this that do not let anything hold you back. Dream big, go for the highest heights. I've always had that belief, and Rare Recruitment have recognised that. Again, I'm so grateful. Thank you ever so much.
Two stars there who really have the theme of perseverance running through their stories. Leanne, at 15, witnessed the aftermath of the stabbing quite close to where she lived, and that is what shaped her decision to go on to become a trauma surgeon and start on that path towards medicine. And the fact that she was rejected the first time that she applied to medical school, but went back again and managed to turn up with an offer and a number of scholarships, just shows the value of persevering and sticking with things, even when things are tough.
Yeah, and I remember one of speaking to her in her interview, one quote that really stuck with me throughout the whole process was, she said something along the lines of she attributed or ascribed her sort of dreams to something greater than herself, and that's what sort of kept her going and kept her pushing forward. And I think that was sort of really powerful to see. From when she was age 15, age 16, and she made that decision that she wanted to pursue medical school. She wasn't in the top set for most of her classes. She was in the middle set, and she remembers she really had to work hard and she really pushed herself just to get to that position. And it was not ever sort of something to do with a loved one or a family member. It was just a moment that really hit her and really stuck with her and really changed her for the better, and allowed her to push through to do what she wanted to do. And I just found it really impressive how that all came to be.
Yeah, and she co-founded the Armitage Foundation to help other people have an easier journey into medical school, having realised that it wasn't as diverse as she would have hoped it to be. And I mean, securing an £11,000 grant from Comic Relief, going off to be their guest speaker, it just shows that she took that passion and instead of just saying, I had a tough journey, but I'm here now, she's gone and ensured that other people can have an easier time with it. Yeah,
no, it's really amazing. Because she said that, when she made that decision, she had no one to go to, no one to ask about what it's like, how do I become a doctor, what routes do I need to take, what decisions do I need to be making. And again, seeing her sort of making that decision to make sure that other people don't have to sort of go through that same process that she did, and making an effort to ensure that the path is easier for other people, I think is really impressive and definitely worthy of being a star.
And Onyinye's story has a similar theme in terms of being focused on education, and she also didn't have the easiest time working her way through education with difficulties in terms of her father falling ill while she was studying and her mum having to work a lot of nights. But what I found really interesting is that in that difficulty, she started tutoring as a way to, help herself get through while studying at university and to deal with that financial strain, and has now turned that into something that has a large online reach.
Yeah, I think something that, again, has even come more like watching the videos is a general theme of overcoming barriers to education, which I feel a lot of these stars have had to go through. And I think Aninye's story is a sort of a perfect example of that. And again, it was a beautiful story of her mum sort of saying that she would to get girls whose hair she would braid to her aniye for free or for cheap, and that allowed her to work really hard to get a scholarship. And even getting a scholarship, she was really grateful to the school that she was at, and she raised over £4,000 for them in her time there. And as you said, all the skills that she learned from tutoring, she was able to turn that into a big business, and she was able to move Enrich Learning, or was looking to move Enrich Learning online before lockdown started and before e-learning became a massive thing, with the sole purpose of the fact that she wanted to reach more disadvantaged students and really spread education across the UK. And I think that's really, really powerful to see. And I'm sure she also has a really, really bright future ahead of her.
Yes, and one thing that stands out for me is that she's dyslexic, and she's made a point of championing neurodiversity and trying to raise awareness through Enrich, her platform. And I think that's really important in terms of helping people from a range of perspectives when it comes to overcoming these barriers.
Yeah, again, and it's similar to Leanne, she had to sort of go through that journey herself, and sort of both really seen the importance of ensuring that whatever skills that they've learned, or whatever knowledge that they've gained, they're wanting to pass that on to other people and really share that knowledge on. I think she's recently started some online webinars over the last few weeks where she's mentoring young people, and I'm sure that's going to take off and do lots of amazing work.
Brilliant. Well, should we meet stars number 6 and number 5?
Yes, we can.
Hi everyone, my name is Royce Patakora, and I'm currently completing my Master of Public Policy degree over at the University of Oxford's Blavatnik School of Government. The Rare Achievement Award for me represents many things, but importantly, we need to showcase black talent, and even more critically, we need to showcase young black talent. Moving forward, I believe that all of the nominees today will be the representatives of future generations and the role models of the future. I'm incredibly grateful to be surrounded by everyone today. Following on from this award, I'll be moving into the Department for Health and Social Care to work on strategic finance, focusing specifically on COVID-19 financing, which promises to be a very interesting time. Thank you very much for this award again, and congratulations to everyone.
I'm delighted and highly honored to be one of the 2020 10 shortlisted Rare Rising Stars. This opportunity reminds me of a beautiful speech by Toastmaster Denaja in 2014, I see something in you. The award has been a constant reminder that people saw something in me. I'm also happy because this opportunity will serve an encouraging role for young people who look up to me. I look forward to transitioning into the field of humanitarian policy and academia. I'm also excited about the prospect of going back into community work. Thank you.
Now, these 2 stars really have a focus when it comes to looking around them and their local area and trying to make a difference there. So I was struck by the fact that Roy, growing up in Lewisham, experienced his friends losing their lives, going in and out of prison, and decided to make a really active change in that through the work that he did with Safer London.
Yeah, and I think that was, again, a really great story, and a lot of people sort of growing up in that circumstances are primarily focused on sort of escaping that and sort of getting themselves out of that and sort of doing what's best for themselves and their family. And I think it was really inspiring to see Roy acting as the middleman, working with Safer London, trying to mediate between sort of friends who are falling on the wrong side of the law, and sort of organisations and charities who are trying to help and sort of support young offenders, and how that sort of elevated and grew into him sort of co-chairing, I think, the Youth Justice Convention, and even sitting in chairing meetings with Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Prime Minister Theresa May. And I think for a young person to have that much impact just based on the fact that they made a decision to live outwardly and try to help others, I think is really, really meaningful. I think that's a really inspiring story to tell.
Most definitely. And the theme of education comes up again because he was working with prisons to introduce more mainstream education there, taking concern towards that population's educational opportunities. And then also in his spare time and through self-funding is mentoring a number of students between 14 and 16 with their education and also letting them shadow him so that they can see what he goes on to do. And I think he's become the youngest governor of his old secondary school, again, taking his experience and making sure that it impacts his local area. And in terms of the role that he's going to be going on to, I think that really shows how valuable it is to have diverse perspectives into things like the Department of Health's approach to COVID, especially when we know that some communities have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic.
Yeah, and as you said, I think him making that effort as he also spoke about in this video, driving up young black talent and ensuring that people are able to sort of make that steps and have the impact, either like his or sort of reach their own sort of personal aspirations and do lots of positive things for society. And I think it's really great to see someone sort of taking that initiative to drive that forward.
Definitely. And Ruth started out going to school in a number of different places because of the sort of change in her family's job and the relocation. And so it was sometimes travelling more than 3 hours both ways to school whilst growing up in Kenya. And finding that she managed to go through all of that and still end up getting a scholarship to one of the oldest universities in Kenya was a brilliant outcome for someone to persevere so much.
Yeah, and it was a really great story. I remember sort of her interviewing her, sort of speaking about, so her mother was a primary school teacher, so she had the benefit of whenever she was travelling across 5 different locations, sometimes she was travelling to school for sort of over 2 hours each way, which is really sort of crazy to think about. But her mother would bring books home from school, and then she'd read them overnight, and her mother would sort of return them the next morning, and that's how she grew, and that's how her love for education and love for learning sort of developed and evolved, and eventually led to her sort of getting a scholarship. And again, the amazing outreach work that she did while she was at university, not just thinking about herself and focusing on her degree and what she can do next to sort of to move her own career, her own personal journey forward. Her and her friend really taking that initiative to set up an amazing outreach program to support homeless children in that area, and I think it was a really, really powerful story to see.
Yeah, and Out of the Streets had a huge impact, given that it was self-funded, just Ruth and her friend at first running it, cooking hot meals for up to 200 children at a time and running medical camps and helping to rehabilitate children who'd become addicted to glue and who the authorities weren't supportive of them helping, but doing so anyway. I think it just really shows how much time and effort they put in to helping those around them. And in terms of her own studies, she's applied for a Rhodes Scholarship and secured a place at Oxford and is now doing her Masters in African Studies, whilst also having Out of the Streets still running and fundraising for a rehab centre. And the multitasking there is just impressive, because I don't know if I could manage it.
Yeah, I mean, the multitasking is amazing. And I hope that, again, through her new fund knowledge of migration studies at Oxford, and think she hopes to sort of go back and apply sort of the research and the theory into some of the experiences that she's had and her knowledge and understanding of the communities and the people there, and hopefully grow sort of out in the streets and sort of even further increase the impact of the work that they've done. So again, really, really amazing story, and lots of amazing things already accomplished, and it's exciting to see where that sort of, carries on to.
Yes, so very soon we're going to be speaking live to our top 3 stars, but before we do that, let's hear from our number 4 Rare Rising Star.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Madu and I'm a mathematics student at Imperial College London. It's made increasingly clear recently that society has its views about black people. Society views us as underachievers and people who won't amount to much, which is why awards like this are so important, because they highlight the achievements in our community and they demonstrate just how valuable our achievements and contributions are. And I am so honoured to be deemed an example of this. A lot of my life so far has been me being the first to break down a number of walls. And while those experiences have been tough, they have taught me the importance of role models, both having them and being one. And with that in mind, moving forward, I will be relaunching one of my ventures, Project Insight, with the adjusted vision of providing role models to students who are not just women, but minorities across STEM. I've been speaking to a number of truly amazing people, and I'm really excited to start new conversations around how we can inspire the next generation of scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians, and how we can in turn empower these people to believe that despite the hand they were dealt in life, they can change the world. Thank you.
Vanessa is somebody who really breaks down barriers, and as she goes through them, she makes sure she brings people with her. I found her story really inspiring. You know, she achieved 10 A stars at GCSE despite her mum being hospitalised at the time, and really wanted to study further maths, but her school just wasn't really in a position to teach her that properly. And so she self-taught herself most of the content. And instead of being upset about having to do that, made sure that she started teaching GCSE further maths to the students below her, so they didn't have to struggle in the same way. And I don't know if I was that thoughtful and generous and outward looking whilst a sixth former, but Vanessa really was.
Yeah, I mean, all whilst doing 4 A levels as well. And I think it was really, really inspiring just to see, as you said, how much she cared about sort of, immediately, as soon as she gets sort of through something, she's thinking about, okay, how can I help other people? Even though she's sort of quite young and she's still sort of collecting many accomplishments that I'm sure she'll collect as she moves forward in her life. And I think it was just really impressive to see that, how sort of always looking backwards. And I think she mentioned that she got 4 A stars, which is half the total amount of A stars at A level that her school received, which is just really sort of amazing to see someone that's so driven and also just has so much sort of innate ability. And I'm sure that there is sort of so much to come from that.
Yes, and on noticing that she was the only black woman studying in her year group at Imperial, she got really involved in outreach work, and after that set up her own blog and is now running Project Insight, a website that's really trying to demystify STEM careers for young women. And as she said in the video, she's going to be expanding that remit soon. And I think it just shows, again, the value of reaching out through a number of mediums, including online, to reach different groups and share our stories, but also make sure that we help share advice and tips that are helpful.
Yeah, and then she mentioned in our interview that she only really discovered a love for technology in her first, second year of university. And already she was already setting up ways in which other people, or mainly girls, can be exposed to technology. Like she wasn't. She was one of the people who was affected by COVID, in the sense that she had planned a big coding event for young girls and primary school girls. She was going to teach them Scratch, a bit of Python, and just getting people access to education at a really young age. And it's just really amazing just to see that even before her fires started burning, she's really lighting the torch of other people and really taking that forward. And yeah, it was just a really, really great story, to be honest.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So we've reached the part of the evening where we're going to get to speak to some of our stars live. And we're going to start with our number 3 Rare Rising Star. So our number 3 Rare Rising Star started volunteering at a domestic violence charity as a teenager. While studying for her law degree, her conversion course, and working towards becoming a qualified lawyer, she maintained her commitment to working to support women. To this end, she founded Women in Leadership Uganda, which supports women on the issues of reproductive rights and health, as well as education and securing stable livelihoods. Will Uganda has supported over 2,500 women so far through over 1,000 workshops. Congratulations to our number 3 Rare Rising Star, Sian Jones. Hello, Sienna, are you here with us?
Yeah, I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, hello. Yes, we can. I think the video's suffering slightly, but yes, you're here now.
Hello.
Brilliant.
Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling amazing. Thank you so much. This is such an honour to make it into the shortlist, and particularly to get to number 3 as well. I'm really, really grateful and really appreciative to be included. Thank you so much.
And we really enjoyed reading your story, and it was just so striking how committed you were. As a teenager, you started volunteering for a domestic violence charity. Do you think doing that so young shaped your view of the world?
I think so. And the reason that I was so interested in sort of domestic violence and volunteering was because of my mum was director of a charity, and she really sort of brought me and my siblings up to work hard and to volunteer and to help others. So that was a very big part of my upbringing. And my grandmother, she worked for the NHS for 40 years. So she was very much into making sure she was supporting the community. So I had that upbringing, and it really made me think that I wanted to help as well. So that's why I got involved in charity work at such an early age. And it did sort of open my eyes to all of the work that I could be doing to help others. And I just think it's such an important thing for young people to get involved in charity work and see how they can help people in their community.
That's amazing. And Will Uganda supports women with reproductive health, education, and their livelihoods. What's been your main focus during the pandemic? Because I'm guessing so many things have been impacted for the women you work with.
Absolutely. I think the main thing that we've tried to focus on is ensuring that women have access to information about COVID-19, because obviously there's been a huge lockdown as well in Uganda, as there's been across the world. And access to health centres has been severely limited. So something that we thought was really important was to ensure that these women in rural communities had that information and they knew how to keep themselves safe. And to that end, as part of one of our current programs, which is the My Body, My Rights program, which is about reproductive health, we had developed an app that allowed women, even rural women, to access information on reproductive health. So what we did during the pandemic was ensure that information regarding COVID-19 was also included on that app. So now that if you are in a rural village, if you do have even a basic phone, you are able to dial a code and receive information regarding COVID-19, how to keep yourself safe and how to keep your family and community safe.
That's transformative. And I guess showing the power again of technology, but also making sure that that's connected with a wide range of groups.
Absolutely, because there is a lot of research at the moment with regards to technology and its ability to help and empower people and to reach communities. But unfortunately, there's so many communities around the world that don't have access to mobile phones, or if they have access to mobile phones, they don't have access to internet. So the app that we designed is internet free. You don't need any internet. And so the most rural communities are able to access the information and spread that knowledge.
That really shows the value of developing things and solutions for people only after you've really got to understand their needs and what they do have access to and what would actually work for them. And I guess that's because of that close working relationship you've got.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm such an advocate for needs-based assessments before you go into a community and you develop a project. So often there are projects that are created that the community may not want or may not even need. So having those conversations and those dialogues that we make sure are part of Will Uganda, making sure we go into the community and speak to community leaders and to local government and see what's really going on the ground before we create a project is just so important.
And I noticed when I was reading through Bez's write-up that you sold your car and you sent home half of your earnings to support the charity. Where did that desire to give so generously come from? Because that's a huge amount of generosity.
I don't know if it's generosity or it's just I had started the organisation. I was the founder. I had brought people on board. So I'd worked with a group of volunteers who were Ugandan nationals, who were also passionate about empowering and educating women. And I just thought I had a responsibility. I had started this. I had sort of galvanized this group of young people who are interested and empowered. And I couldn't just let it slip. So I thought the Mini Cooper that I had at home wasn't really of much use. I had a television that was ridiculously sized. I had all these things that I just didn't need. And I thought that if I take this money and I sell it off and I use it to actually put money into the programs, to develop the programs, to make sure the volunteers in the field have allowances so they can get out to the field, so they have airtime, all of that sort of thing was so much more important than me being able to drive a car from here to there.
It's amazing. I don't think everybody would be so instinctively generous, but I can sense the strong commitment that you had to making sure that the work continued. And my final question is that you're juggling a full-time master's course with 2 days of remote working and weekend work to make sure that the charity keeps running. How do you do it?
I'm not sure. I manage it. I think I would say definitely from my time when I was working as a family lawyer, I had a huge workload. It was insane. So many clients, so many trips backwards and forwards to court. So I think I got into that rhythm of juggling work. And at that time, I really enjoyed the work. And I enjoy this work. I enjoy seeing the impact of our programs. I enjoy hearing about women who have been able to access reproductive health information. And now they know how to take control of their body, their rights, how to have smaller families. So those sort of stories that I get back from the field really sort of give me the drive to juggle everything and just to get the job done and to make sure that I'm having as much impact as I possibly can, whether I'm in the UK and working remotely or when I'm actually in Uganda and I'm on the ground.
Brilliant. And Bez, was there anything that really stood out to you when you were reading through all of the nominations and came across Sian's profile?
And I think it's sort of similar, and it's a sort of a similar thread that's been going on. I think you mentioned earlier being really influenced by the women in your life. And your mother and your grandmother, and using that as an inspiration for your charity and trying to build sort of more sort of female leadership in Uganda and the places you're working at. And I think it's really amazing to see that continuation of work in what you're doing, and I'm sure it's going to continue to grow over the next few years.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do hope so. We are working towards a new fundraising campaign as well for our current My Body, My Rights app. Because the app itself, it doesn't cost the users anything to use or to access the information, but it does cost our charity every time someone uses the app. So we will be launching a campaign very shortly to ensure that even more women across Uganda are able to access information about reproductive health and essential information about COVID-19 right now. So that's something that's definitely coming up that I will share and hopefully people will get involved in.
Yeah, please do share, and we'll be sure to amplify, because it's an amazing organisation and amazing work that you're doing. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Congratulations. And we look forward to seeing what you go on to do in the future.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. That was exciting. I'm ready to meet our number 2 Rare Rising Star now. And our number 2 Rare Rising Star struggled at school at first, but went on to be the top scorer at the best medical school in West Africa for 3 years running. During his studies, he worked with an NGO called Czech Medical Mission to tutor students and to provide medical outreach to rural communities, reaching hundreds of people. He has set up his own NGO since then, called the Ganglion Initiative, which works to provide careers counselling and university admissions to support students in Nigeria. He is also a Rhodes Scholar and is currently studying for his PhD in women's reproductive rights at Oxford. Congratulations to our number 2 Rare Rising Star, Dr. Tolu Awoyemi.
Hey, hello.
Hi, Tolu.
Hi.
Hi, no, Bez.
Great that you could join us. Thank you for joining us this evening, and congratulations.
Oh, thanks. It's actually it's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm sort of speech. You can see it in the way I'm rambling.
Well, if I'm honest, it was sort of speechless when we were reading through your nomination and your profile, because your story is amazing. And what I found interesting is that when you were younger, you found school challenging. But when you got to university, you ended up being the top scorer out of 150 students for a number of years running. What prompted the change, do you think?
That's a very interesting question. I sort of found myself reflecting back and asking myself what exactly changed. I was able to pin it down to the exact year, but I think it just I figured out that while a lot of emphasis is paid on intelligence and talent for academic success, etc., a lot of it does with just the sheer will and hard work. And I think once I found out that technique, I was willing to go the extra mile and put the effort, then sort of just fine tune. And it seemed to work. It's one of the funny stories where even when I find things challenging at the moment, I sort of take a look back and say, oh, this was also challenging about 5-6 years ago. I exactly didn't navigate this by just putting more attention to it. And it stems from it's sort of a proverb that my dad used to say to me growing up, and it says the reward for hard work is more hard work. It's one of those funny ones, but I still just sometimes live by it. Interestingly, just that it's not time to rest. There's still more that you can achieve. There's still more you can do.
Yeah, and you've really been doing a lot of things and multitasking as well. So you spent a lot of time volunteering for Czech Medical Mission during your studies, tutoring hundreds of students, whilst also studying. So how did you balance the two things?
I think there's really no other fast rule, and I can't say this is the definite answer. But I think what actually helped me was just priority, and I had a specific time to read and then a specific time to just get involved. I didn't see it as volunteering. I just sort of saw it as a social responsibility, something I had to do, like in general. And for this, so with Czech Medical Mission, it's one of the projects that's actually really close to my heart because it started as an academic group, then sort of moved into medical missions in general, and I evolved along with it. And interestingly, by learning how to multitask, it's a skill that's helped me in my medical practice to date, and still a skill I'm benefiting from at the moment.
Oh, great! So the goodness that you sent out came back to you in the end as well.
Yeah,
that's great. And what prompted you to start your most recent initiative, the Ganglion Initiative?
Yeah, so I've been working in the medical field for like throughout medical school for a long time, but then I realized a lot of people are doing medical missions. I don't think they feel the sort of it's a niche that a lot of people in Nigeria have created for themselves, but the education system was gradually collapsing. People were more interested in cyber crimes. And I was starting to realize that unlike elsewhere, you can say, oh, this population of people are going to have this certain disease and it's quite relatable. For education, it's a bit more abstract. People just cannot understand when you say in the next 5 or 6 years, a lot of people won't go to university to study courses again. They would rather go into politics without education or going to like other venues. And convincing people about that was quite difficult. So I thought it was best for me to leave health after I'd organized a lot of medical outreaches to focus on the aspect of education and take my transferable skills from health to education. And initially when I started this, I remember the first outreach I did with my co-founders. A lot of people kept asking, what does the doctor know about education and career counseling, and a lot of questions like that. But gradually we were able to carve the niche for ourselves. And now we've got into the growth of the organization has sort of blown my mind. I didn't know it was going to be. This was my 10-year plan, but we seem to have achieved it in about 3 to 4 years. We are talking about launching our own scholarships for public now. We are looking at starting the Get Back to School program because most of the public school, secondary schools are going to open quite soon, and we are trying to prevent a second wave of pandemic. So sort of providing stationaries and gloves that will prevent sharing of these stationaries among in one form reduce the risk of the pandemic or reduce the chance of the second wave.
Yes, and that was going to be my final question to you, which is how has the work that you've been doing been impacted by the pandemic, and it seems that at the moment you're very much preparing to ensure students have what they need to get through this difficult period of time.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been able to adapt. So we've been quite dynamic with this. I'll say that as of January 2, I didn't know this was how the year was going to turn out. But interesting, we had a lot. So we have this almost 10-year-long plan of what to do with the organization at specific times. And what we had to do was reshuffle a lot of these projects. Now we are putting forward a career book. And the career book is a project that is capitalizing on the fact that people of low and middle income status in Nigeria do not have a lot of access to internet, and the schools do not have a lot of access to career counseling. We're trying to sort of create a self-intuitive book which acts as a career counselor, similar to Where There's No Doctor, which was produced by the WHO. So that's what we've been working on at the moment, and trying to see how we can just release that. And we're working on a deal with a state who is interested in procuring the books for secondary school students in the states in Nigeria, which is amazing, considering the amount of work that the people on ground at the Ganglion Initiative have put in place.
That's amazing, and I really hope that grows and has the impact that you're hoping for. And Bez, was there anything that really stood out to you when you were reading through Polly's profile when it first came into your inbox?
Yeah, I mean, from our interview, there were so many notes made in that interview, and I think there's quite a bit of stuff that actually wasn't included in the final piece that will be read, sort of as long as it is, which sort of shows the breadth of the things that you've been involved with. And I mean, throughout this interview, we haven't actually spoken about your research and any of the work that you're doing at Oxford. Mm-hmm. So it'd be really good to hear about how that's going and what you're looking into and what you're hoping to do following that.
Okay, so I'm working in women's health. Another reason why I'm interested in women's health is because it's quite underfunded. And a lot of diseases that affect pregnant women in general that we do not really fully understand what causes them or how to treat them. So I'm interested in particular one preterm birth, which is why babies born prematurely, and this is quite significant. Irrespective of who you are, it's the most common cause of death among newborns. So I'm trying to understand what leads to this. With the hope that understanding will help us to prevent, if possible, but also treat and manage complications better. Then I also work on a disease called preeclampsia, which is why pregnant women have elevated blood pressure and protein in their urine, and it's quite disastrous. And it depends on where you are in Africa, for example. It's either the most common cause of death among pregnant women or the second most common cause of death women. Again, similar to the first condition I'm interested in. We don't fully understand why it occurs. The only way to treat it so far is delivering the baby prematurely, which again sort of tracks back to the initial problem I said. So I'm trying to look a way to develop a diagnostic test that will allow us to detect this disease early. And if we detect this disease early, then we can better treat this disease conditions.
I wish you the best of luck with that research, because I think especially during the pandemic, we've seen again how pregnant women have sort of suffered almost disproportionately by being impacted. And I think, as you said, it's an underfunded area of research. And so knowing that you're pushing your head in it brings me some comfort, because I think we've seen that you persevere and you make sure things get done. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. The level of multitasking and being able to, strike deals with a local authority to get things printed whilst also researching into something that's so needed is just astounding to me.
There's a lot of ambition there as well, and it's just really good.
Definitely. Well, that brings us on to the final interview of this evening. So it's time to introduce our number one Rare Rising Star, which I'm very excited to do. And our number one Rare Rising Star got a job as a journalist as a teenager to help pay for her school fees. At medical school, she turned her regular column into one focused on health, leading her to work with a team in Belgium to develop a media communication tool for reporting on Ebola in 2014. She went on to raise millions for her award-winning app, Checkups Medical Centre, which enables chronically ill people to collect medicine without queuing in hospitals. This year, she has founded the Lens Africa Fund, which invests in gender-diverse companies. A huge congratulations to our number one Rare Rising Star, Diana Wangari. Hello.
Hello, hi, thank you.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I'm excited and also a bit shocked. But I'm truly happy to be here. And thank you for raising stars. And, I'm just speechless.
Well, I'm surprised in a way that you're shocked, because I think as we read through your profile, there was just such a breadth of things that you've done, and also just really deep impact in all of the things that you've decided to turn your hand to and make a difference in. And I was really interested by the fact that you started out merging medicine and journalism, which isn't a really common approach, or not something that I'd say I've seen loads of. What spurred you on to merge the two things?
I think it's really just practicing in sub-Saharan Africa, where you get to realize that a lot of people don't have access to healthcare and information in particular. So you'd find that when we're in the hospital treating patients, a lot of them really didn't need to be in the hospital in the first place. It was simply a matter of if they knew they had to maybe take this medication beforehand or had to be seen by this doctor beforehand, right? And so I realized before even getting to the hospital, there is a big information gap, right? And I guess being a healthcare worker, there's also the element of just being able to translate the health information to a layman's perspective, right? And so in that case, I figured that maybe being a doctor, yes, I could impact thousands, right? But by information, it could be millions, right? So in that case, I figured combining both medicine and journalism then could create mass impact as well.
And you were able to work with a team to develop a communication tool to help people to report on Ebola. What was that like at the time?
It was hard, actually. And I think at that point, I was in Belgium and I was having this conversation with researchers. And they were describing their efforts on the ground, whereby they're trying to treat these patients. And all they're saying is that you're going to eat our dead, right? That you're not allowing us to bury our loved ones, right? And the researchers and the doctors at the time, what they were experiencing was, again, the same issue, information gap. If there was an app or a program that could communicate to the community that, hey, this is a condition that requires isolation. It's not that we're actually going to feed on the dead, right? I think that just struck to me as a very simple process that I think from a researcher perspective is not the first approach we take, right? And so you just get on the ground and you roll up your sleeves and get to it.
And you did that also when you realised that there was a challenge for chronically ill patients who needed medicine regularly, and for whom it's not really great for them to be queuing regularly in hospitals and having to do that often. And you set up Checkups Medical to help with that challenge. When was it that you realised there was a need to plug that gap?
I think right after medical school. And I think there's been a lot of focus in terms of HIV, malaria, TB in sub-Saharan Africa. And in many ways, patients who have these chronic diseases are neglected, right? Because they're always considered as a lifestyle condition, right? And so if you get to speak to some of these patients, they tell you their journey, right? And the fact that they actually have to procure this medication month on month, right? The idea that if you save just say £1 for such a patient, right? £1 every month translates to £12, and this could literally be the savings that they require to buy their next meal, feed their family, or get accommodation as well, right? And so in that case, just the same element that the little I could do, I wanted to do as well, right? And I think it's always been driven by the fact that most people focus on sort of what's trending at the moment, and I'm always driven to think about what's behind the scenes, right? What's no one really thinking about at that point in time? And just chronic diseases at the point was neglected, so to speak, and in many ways it still is.
Yeah, it seems you took time out to really understand what people were going through on a day-to-day and what was making their lives difficult. And I guess the theme that we've seen is designing things with people's needs in mind, as opposed to just designing what you think they need and, hoping that people will use it.
Absolutely. And I mean, the irony is when we first sort of launched the application, I think it was a failure, right? Because I think we took that approach of launching a solution in the market and thinking we're going all with this tech solution, and it is the solution. When in real sense, it's meant to be an enabler, right? So we launched the application and we had about 18,000 downloads, but barely anyone using it, so they download it and uninstall it, right? And so we actually took time and went back to the ground and spoke to the patients and said, hey, what's happening, right? And they say, you know what we really need, yes, the technology is good, but what we really need is the savings, right? Because again, the premise is that I'm spending this much on drugs, right, every month, right? If you could help me, even with just that £1, right, even if it's a penny, it should make a difference. And that sort of focused us to say, okay, fine, we have the technology solution, but what we're going to focus on is really on the medication and cost-saving element of it. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you shifted your focus a little bit recently, and this year you started the Lens Africa Fund, which has a focus on supporting gender diverse companies. What made you decide to move in that direction recently?
I came across a statistic by the McKinsey Global Institute that showed that at the current pace, it would take African countries 142 years to achieve gender parity. And I thought to myself, 142 years, right? And I said, that cannot be the case, right? And I remember just my personal struggles, not just being a medical doctor, but being a female entrepreneur in the continent as well. And just that challenge and how I navigated it, I required first a lot of support, but a lot of capital. And you combine those three together and they say, why not? A Gender Lens Fund focused on, supporting other women like me. That's right.
And you've also co-founded something else this year with a number of your peers, founding things, left, right, and centre, which is amazing. So Medboda is founded in response to COVID-19. How has it been trying to help people during the pandemic?
We co-founded Medboda with a group of other two students from Oxford University. And the premise was that a lot of patients were not able to go to hospital at this moment, right? And so in that case, we looked at Medboda as really a community platform whereby patients could support each other, not just by providing advice, but also recommending what's happening nearby. Because I think a lot of people, and the focus has been on the medical side of COVID, but there's all the psychosocial support that's required as well, the mental health aspect. And that's, I think, one of the elements that Medboda is certainly focusing on outside medication.
Yeah, definitely. You can't just treat the body, you do have to treat the mind. So,
absolutely.
That's an amazing intervention. Bez, when you first saw Diana's profile, did you know it would be a winning profile?
Again, it was one of those interviews where you knew where you were taken down so much, and there was lots that had been accomplished, and as you said, so much high impact in the work that she's been doing, and in different areas as a journalist, medical researcher, businesswoman, multi-business woman. And on all sorts of charity and outreach work, which is all really positive. And I think something you said to me in an email where it's like, my mission is we need more female CEOs. And I think just really taking that on and driving that on board and really trying to push for that. I think it's great to have figureheads, and I hope this gives you a platform to allow sort of that to happen and to really encourage more sort of gender parity in Africa. And that statistic will not be true. So we can do this now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and congratulations on being the #1 Rare Rising Star of 2020. We really look forward to seeing what you go on to do, and we'll be catching up with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Wow.
Yeah, what a journey.
I always finish these events just thinking how amazing the stars are, just how many things they manage to do at once. But I think the thing I'm always most moved by is just how much time and effort they put into helping others, whether that be people in their direct communities or even people in other parts of the world, and how they don't see that as them making sacrifices, but just them doing the thing that they've been sort of called to do. And I love that, it does come back round and they're able to continue on in their own personal endeavours as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and it's sort of really seen the work that they do as a duty that they've taken up sort of upon themselves, and it's never really a chore. It's something that they go out, enjoy doing it, find passion doing it, and sort of do it really well and such a big impact, with such a big impact. And I really hope people watching feel inspired by that. And I think I wanted the award this year to not just show sort of the amazing achievements people are doing, but show how they're doing it and sort of what steps that they were taking. And hopefully from reading the publication, which I will just put a link to down below, you can sort of read their stories, find out more about what they've done, and hopefully sort of inspire the next future generations of people to go on and do even more amazing things.
Yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. I read it and was very, very inspired as a result. And I think it shows the value of community and supporting each other, and how that can also help you go on to achieve whatever it is you want to do personally. So with that said, I think that's us done for the evening. So it's left to me to thank our sponsors who's made this possible. So that's the University of Oxford and the University of Cambridge. To thank all of our judges who took time out of their busy diaries in the middle of a very disruptive time to read through all of our shortlisted profiles and help us select our top 10. And also to you, Bez, who did a brilliant job at finding all of these stars and making sure that we were able to celebrate them even in disruptive times. So thank you.
And thank you for a fabulous job co-hosting and helping to put this event together. It was really, really fun, and I really, really enjoyed tonight's show. Albeit virtually in different locations, it all came together very well. So
yeah, it was great. All right, well, thank you to everybody who's been watching. This will be going onto YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it back if you missed anything, and you can download the publication right now, I think. So thank you very much, and have a lovely evening.
Have a lovely evening.